Hello, my name's Alan Williams, and I'm one of the many people in North Escondido who are expressing strong concerns about a Hare Krishna temple project located in all of our backyards. There's a number of aspects that are especially concerning. Our biggest is that it's a high fire area. We also have a major concern with congestion and traffic. Not to mention, there's a lack of appropriate evacuation points. Rincon Avenue dead ends in the east, and you can see the location of the Hare Krishna temple project site does not lend itself to have appropriate evacuation routes. It sits on a one-way in and one-way out box canyon situation, dead ending in the east, to the north, and to the south, and there's other points too where you can see the clear dead ends. This is really setting us up for a potential situation where there would be a loss of life in any kind of wildfire scenario. I'd like to introduce you to Debbie Korn, who's located at the proposed entrance and exit of the Hare Krishna temple.
This street here, as you can see, is a one-way in and one-way out, two-lane, and the city of Escondido is basing it on 4 lanes, a 4-lane collector street, and which is, as you can see, it's not a 4-lane collector. So not only are they using an old study, which is the low system, they're basing it on a 4-lane collector when it's clearly not 4-lane. This street not only is not 4-lane, but it also dead ends. So they are using false studies.
Many long-term residents of Escondido are familiar with Emmanuel Faith Community Church. Here's an aerial of Emmanuel Faith. And you see the number of parking areas around the church, plus just the variety of different ways to enter the church and exit. It stands as a stark contrast to what's being proposed on a dead-end road at the end of Rincon Avenue. I'd like to introduce you to Michael Stevenson, who lives at the top of the Hare Krishna property, and he'll really provide a perspective that you can only get by coming out, but the video captures quite a bit of the topography and the danger that's associated with building such a project here.
Hi, I'm Mike Stevenson. I'm the owner at the top of the hill, among other owners adjacent to this parcel. I just want to show you guys the liability concerns with this project in a high fire zone canyon. Down here we have ISKCON's overflow parking, and beyond that is their cow sanctuary, which they can have up to 24 cows. You can come over here and look at the barn. It's a wooden barn right there between the trees, and beyond that will be the temple project if it's passed. Over here we have the house. Manager's house was built in 1954 that has no fire flow and no emergency vehicle access roads. As you can see, you can't even see the house. It's under so many trees that it's extreme high fire zone. If I step down here, it gives you a little more scale of the liabilities and risk this project partakes. We all remember this Palisades fire, and if you pan over to this canyon, you can see how a Santa Ana wind would blow up the canyon, take out that house, take out the next house, and the 1,000 homes on the other side of this hill. Okay, here we have the backside of ISKCON's property. You can see the thousands of homes that would be at risk if there was a fire.
As I mentioned previously, you can see there's a major choke point at the intersection of Rincon Avenue and Conway Drive. There's even a new development there. You can see the Hare Krishna. The box in yellow is projecting back to an original proposal 20 years ago, where the traffic study said that there would be a 70% increase in traffic. Yet the traffic studies in this plan are completely flawed. You can see the choke point there at Rincon Avenue and Conway Drive, and Debbie Korn is going to shed more light upon this as she talks about the proposed plan.
What I'd like to start with is SB 743, and what that is Senate Bill 743. It was passed by the state of California in 2013 and adopted by the city of Escondido in 2022. What the city is doing, they are using an old study, the low study, which stands for level of service, They're using a low study for this whole project when it now has been replaced with VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled. It does not even make sense. It is not logical to use the low study based on the fact that there's going to be, the temple is a destination for visitors. It's going to be about number of people going to and from. So they are basing it again on an old study, and we want answers why.
We are aware of friends and neighbors who have been involved in accidents at this very intersection. And so it does have an infamous quality to it with the steep road behind us, blind corners, but it really pales in comparison to just 2 blocks from here, which is a major artery of Broadway and Rincon. And over the last decade, there's been 113 accidents and 6 fatalities. And as we turn our attention back to the actual project site, the Hare Krishnas boast of an animal sanctuary that happens on the site. We've got major concerns about such an operation happening that's not even mentioned in the plans whatsoever. The Hare Krishnas say that there is no animal sanctuary, but we very much expect it to grow larger than what it currently is, and we should see a rapid growth in attendance for the number of services that they have at the facility. In fact, it would stand to reason that they would be expanding the animal sanctuary as more visitors and devotees would be coming to the temple. And the plan also calls for the weekday schedule of activities. There's 7 different services that happen every single day. So imagine people driving to the services, and being that it's a one-way in, one-way out, they'll be driving out of the services too. Most of these, they say there'll be between 25 and 30 people, but there's really no regulation about how many people can actually be in attendance. And this, of course, will add to the traffic and congestion that's inevitable for having a major religious destination in our backyards. Of course, this doesn't even mention the weekend schedules, where on Sunday evenings we'll have Indian instruments and devotions from 5:30 to 8 with attendance projections of 100 to 250 people. And then on Saturday, attendance projections being 20 to 50. Also, wedding schedules with attendance projections 50 to 100 people. And then the pilgrimages, they also say that those will be within 400 to 500 people. But who's to know how big those become based on what's happened at other temples? Of course, this begs the question, where will all these people park with only 70 stalls around the temple area? In the original plans, and you could see the big red arrow there, it points to overflow parking. Now that's been removed now from the plans that you can find on the city webpage, and the reason it is because not only is the whole property a high fire danger area, this is an extremely high fire area, and so therefore they pull the plug on the overflow parking. So that means that all their parking will be along the streets and other parts of the property, and we have a good reason to believe that they'll be using the entirety of their property for parking when their major festivals occur. And Mike Stevenson joins us again to show us where the overflow parking has taken place in the past during their festivals.
Okay, here we have ISKCON's overflow parking area. It's about 100 feet by 100 feet or more. You can put up to 70 cars here. They say they're not going to use it for overflow, but we all know they are. We have a dismantled altar that was put up during a wedding they had about a year ago. And as you can see, this is an extreme high fire zone canyon area where the wind blows up and over the hill.
And Mike is accurate. They do have a makeshift overflow parking area, but they also just park wherever they want to park. Here's a collection of cars littered alongside the easement road. You can see some makeshift structures over there now in the center of your screen, but you could just see car after car parked wherever they want. Now, coming up on the right is the animal sanctuary. This is where the cows are housed. There's also some horses there, and they're allowed up to 24 cows in the property, but who's to say how many they can actually have? It's really up to them. This is a prime example of irresponsible land use. For instance, the temple project in Spanish Fork, Utah does have a physical building, but you can see here that there's quite a bit of overflow that happens in terms of parking and also temple gatherers celebrating. They boast of crowds now at 3,000, but are projecting even more in the future. Alan Williams will join us now to go back down to Rincon Avenue looking up at the property. So I'm standing in front of the property. As you can see, there's a notification that was put up that only a few neighbors are going to see. Primarily, it's the neighbors not even in the city of Escondido. It's all the neighbors to the east of here that live in the county. There's about 30 people who have probably seen this sign about what's going in here. Back here is supposed to be the residential properties. We really believe through and through the residential properties will never be built, because with residential properties, you'll have to have proper infrastructure for this whole development. If the Hare Krishnas were sincere about the development of this residential project, they would build the residential community first. Because when they do this, they'll have a proper easement road that bisects the entirety of the property, plus they'll have the fire hydrants in place. We call on our city council to vote no on the project. It is a bad idea for this box canyon on a dead-end road. If the city did send this back to the Hare Krishnas to dramatically alter their plan, these are the remedies that are important for us. We don't know how you correct a disastrous intersection at Rincon Avenue in Conway, but start with a traffic light, and the cost must be incurred by ISKCON, not by city taxpayers. This is outlined in item 6. Secondarily, what we didn't initially highlight in the video is item 7. No dormitories in the temple to house transient populations that's currently called for in the plan. Also, no food distribution programs, which are also called for in the plan. Both of these aspects will only further attract homeless folks to North Escondido. We don't know what the solution is to homelessness in our town that is so apparent to all of us who travel Center City Parkway, but it is a terrible idea to approve projects that potentially expand transient populations to North Escondido. I'd like to invite you all to attend the Escondido City Council meeting on Wednesday, November 12th at 5 p.m. is the start time. It's at Escondido City Hall to voice your concerns and urge the City Council to vote no on the Hare Krishna's plans for North Escondido. Look for live links in the comment section on this YouTube video to sign up for the petition and receive further updates.